This podcast was edited and uploaded by Uncle Geeb Productions. Hey guys, and welcome everyone to the Triple G Podcast. I'm your host, Uncle Geeb, and with me is special guest host Tyson. What's your name?
It'd be Tyson.
No, I gotta
W.
redo it. Sheesh, man. Damn it.
Oh, sorry.
I wasn't ready.
Did I mess it up?
No, I messed it up. You know why I messed it up, Tyson? Because you have
Why?
approximately 15 million different names.
Just pick one. Just pick one.
God damn it. Oh, man. Oh, I'm gonna keep this in. Tyson, I messed up the intro. You guys can follow us on YouTube. You can listen to us on podcast things and stuff. I'm keeping that all in. Tyson, how you doing?
It.
How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I am really excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me on, man. I'm pumped to talk some Pokemon.
Yeah. You may know Tyson as Bigoof Madude. You may know Tyson as T-Dubs. You may know Tyson as the Tyson Wood. You may know Tyson as what other ones? Tyson, what other ones have you said before?
I'm just an amorphous blob at this point, homie.
Literally, I had the intro down pat. There was nothing gonna go wrong except
and I messed it up.
No. Until I had to think about your name.
I know.
Because I don't know what the frick your name is.
Yeah, I know. It's and that's the thing is like, I'm just a man of mystery at this point, I guess. Choose one. Choose your own name, really, for me.
I will choose the name The Tyson W, which is his current and hopefully last name on the internet. You can find him at youtube.com/The Tyson W. Just at Tyson, at The Tyson W on YouTube. And there you are. You found him. He makes lots of content, but also he's a lover of Pokemon. He's been on the podcast before. You may not remember. Again, Bagoof Madude, one of those few names you may know. But again, guys, if you haven't already noticed, there has been a third voice that's not here right now. That is Drip Media. He's not going to be with us today, but the podcast goes on. We have Tyson, and hopefully Drip will be back next week, back from his festivities, whatever he's up to over there, doing Drip things.
Nobody knows.
But anyway, Tyson, how you doing? I think I know, but just tell me anyway.
Okay, so I'm just excited. I don't know, man. I'm excited to be here, number one. So thank you for having me on. You invited me on to literally talk about my favorite thing, and I think today of all days is a special day considering the announcement that we got yesterday, and we'll get more into that. But I'm really excited. Really looking forward to talking about these things. The big patch is one of the big ones.
Yeah.
And some other things for what that means. And then honestly, I'm looking forward to like just being finished up here, having a good show, and then really digging into the content, because that's what I've been up to since launch. I've just been doing nothing but Pokemon. I have not existed in this world. I've existed in the Paldea region since Pokemon launched. So,
how many hours?
I have over 100 hours in the game.
So. Over 100. This game came out, for reference, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
That's it's impressive, sir. You've had that many hours into the game. I have roughly 45, I think is what Nintendo tells me.
That's respectable. Yeah.
I mean, I would hope so. That's good. That's the thing about it, is that I haven't played a Pokemon game more than 30 hours in my life, and that was Arceus that I played 30 hours of, which I loved. But if you guys watch my video I made on YouTube recently, it's all about Pokemon, and I had said this year, this is crazy for me. This year, the series that I've played the most of, hands down, for Pokemon.
I love this,
which is nuts. Like, if you combine my Arceus hours with my so far Scarlet and Violet, which is going to go up by a tremendous amount before the end of the year, it's already the highest played franchise of the year for me. With streaming, with all that. And I only streamed 2 hours of this game. That really tells you guys, that should tell you guys everything about how I feel about this game. And we're going to get into other aspects, because obviously the internet has been going crazy negative on the game. If you're into Nintendo, you're into especially Pokemon, you have seen the negativity on the game. And trust me, at least me, I can't speak for Tyson, but I'm going to have plenty of things to say negative about the game, because it's not really about the game though. It's really the issue is with Game Freak. And we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it for sure.
Yeah.
One thing I want to insert real quick. If you haven't checked out Geeb's latest video, it's one of my favorites that he's done on YouTube about
Pokemon.
His thoughts on Scarlet and Violet. Go check it out, because it's good. And his perspective as somebody that isn't typically a huge Pokemon fan, at least as far as the core series games goes. It was something I really respected and valued. It was a good video. It's one of my favorites. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Because if you're on the fence, just know that Geeb was definitely on the fence.
Oh God, yeah.
Like 100%. And he texted me the night that he bought the game, and he's like, it was like 11 o'clock or something, and he's like, bro, I can't put this down. Well, anyway, we'll get more into it, but please go check out that video, guys. It's a good vid. And anyway.
Yeah, I got tired of the negativity of the YouTube videos I was seeing. I just got tired of it because it was from people who didn't play the game. Like all the people who just watched the Twitter leaks, not the leaks, the Twitter glitches and all
Twitter
that
mob.
They created a mob. And listen, I've been guilty of that in the past for plenty of things, including Pokemon. Like if you listen to this, if you've listened to any other Pokemon episodes on this channel, I have been incredibly critical. I think I've pissed off Tyson quite a few different times.
They have triggered my emotions. We'll put it. Yes.
Yeah.
Those are the times I turn into a sensitive snowflake and have to leave the chat.
Yeah. So like I am not the person who is gung ho about Pokemon all the time, never says anything bad about it. Like that's why this is so significant. That's why I really think you guys should hear my voice on this, because
Agreed.
it's something that needs to be heard. I feel like because there's so much negativity around it. But the reason we're talking about Pokemon and Pokemon only tonight is because Nintendo doesn't have a lot to talk about right now. Just being quite honest with you guys. But we had a tweet last night, Tyson. I just called you Drip. Tyson.
I'm not as handsome.
It was a tweet from, actually, you have some perspective. I'll let you take it for a second, because there was somebody else who tweeted before Nintendo.
Yeah, so for those of you guys that are Pokemon fans, you're probably well aware of Cerebi.net. Cerebi.net, they're an independent outlet that really runs a great Pokemon resource website, and they've run it for years and years. His name is Joe Merrick. But Cerebi.net actually tweeted the announcement before I ever saw Nintendo tweet the announcement of a new patch, the 1.1.0 patch that everyone has been so anticipating for Scarlet Violet since launch because of all of the performance issues and other glitches. So yes, Joe Merrick from Cerebi under the Cerebi account tweeted the announcement, and then after that, I started digging, because it's like, well, where did he get this information? Because I couldn't even find it for a while, but it turns out a few moments later, Nintendo of America tweeted it. I brought up to Geeb though the one funny thing that before I even found that Nintendo of America tweeted it. Number one, it's funny that Nintendo of America tweeted it before Pokemon did.
Yeah, that is interesting, but I think that speaks volumes, and we'll get to that in a minute.
Agreed. So the only other place that I could find it before Nintendo of America tweeted it was the Pokemon Home app. So if you are a Pokemon fan,
so weird,
and you don't use it, but it makes sense for what they're trying to do with Pokemon. It's home for a reason. That's where they want kind of their source for information to be, as well as storage for your Pokemon and other resources. So it makes sense, but it was kind of weird because I had to dig for it. It wasn't convenient. But so before I saw Nintendo of America tweet it, I actually dug into Pokemon Home, and it was in the Pokemon Home announcement, and it turns out that's where Joe Merrick got the information, if not directly from the Pokemon company, because he does tend to have a direct line with them as well. So anyway, but yeah, so Cerebi.net, if you guys aren't following Cerebi, use it if you're a Pokemon player. It's a great resource, his website. Yeah,
so where I saw the tweet came from Nintendo of America with the blue check, which means less these days. Funny, wink, wink. Just joking. It's 2022. If you listen to this in the future, it's a wild time for Twitter.
It's a wild time for the planet, bro.
Yeah, it sure is. But anyway, so we have a software update for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Version 1.1.0 will be released on December 1st. Please visit our website for more information. And then there's a link. And typically, first off, Nintendo doesn't usually post these kinds of tweets. Let's start there. Interesting that it's not coming from the Pokemon Company's Twitter account. It's coming from Nintendo of America.
Yeah.
And I'm sure all the other Nintendo ofs, around the world.
Yep.
So that Tyson, what does that tell you off the bat before we dissect this tweet more?
It tells me it's a big deal. It would be a big deal if the Pokemon Company tweeted it also, but to me, the fact that Nintendo's the one getting out in front of it really speaks volumes. Number one, the way I feel as a fan, and I don't know if this is the answer you're looking for, but the way that I feel as a fan reading that, it does. To me, it tells me that they acknowledge, they've heard the concerns about Scarlet and Violet, and they wanted to be this. It was done intentionally. It's not like it was decided by accident that Nintendo of America was going to send that tweet, right? So to me as a fan, it does tell me that they hear it and that they're taking it seriously, like they said they are. But that's what it means to me.
Yeah, and that's before even reading what the rest of the tweet says. And typically, a Nintendo tweet like that just ends right there with that link and then maybe a couple hashtags or something, and it's over with. But this tweet went further and said, Nintendo said, quote, "We take the feedback from players seriously and will continue to work on improvements to the games." And that's where the tweet ends. So Nintendo, that's not something Nintendo does. They look at their tweets. They don't say something like that. Now, what does it mean exactly? That is something that's subjective, and we can that's what this podcast is for. We have fun taking our stabs at what it may or may not mean. What I kind of think that means is that exactly what they said. I think they just were stating a fact. I don't think they were really talking about anything specifically besides Pokemon. They were saying we take the feedback, well, and their games in general. I mean, again, we'll get to it. I have so much in my mind. But they say we take the feedback from players seriously. So obviously we've gotten tons of feedback. People thought that, Nintendo's not listening. Game Freak, Pokemon Company, none of these companies are listening to us, because they're raking in the dollars. What do they care? And I know it's just words on a tweet, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they do care. But they've acknowledged it, which typically doesn't happen.
Yeah. Well, Twitter carries a lot of weight too, though, in our modern world, which is, you know what I mean? It really does. Like,
absolutely.
People care about
real life. It really does.
People care about the stuff that's said on Twitter. And, if you're kind of an older boomer kind of guy like me, you don't as much. You have it just because you're a content creator or whatever, but it does carry some weight. And so it is not insignificant that Nintendo tweeted that. And that's where their audience is, right? That's where gamers are. That's where millennials are. That's where Gen Z, all that stuff. So it carries weight. And it's very significant. I was very happy when I finally saw it because I was waiting for it. I knew that a patch was coming soon, and we can get into the reasons why. I knew anyone that was a Pokemon fan really would have known that was coming. I don't know if you want to jump into the reason why.
Not quite, but we will. Okay. Remind me later. We will.
Sure. But we knew there was an update coming. If you are a Pokemon fan, there had to be an update coming for some of the other things that were taking place because of this update. It wasn't just a patch, and we'll get into that later.
Yeah. So that's in the tweet. However, you can click on the link, which we will do. And again, this if you guys want to see this tweet for yourself and this Nintendo of America web link, you can check it out in the description down below. But then we just kind of get into the patch notes, which is something that's really controversial on the internet as well, as far as other YouTubers and people's opinions on the patch notes, whether that they mean anything. So let's just read it for ourselves. Let's see the first one. Season 1 of Ranked Battles. Again, sorry, this is version 1.1.0, released today, December 1st.
Yep.
Ranked Battles will kick off, allowing you to enjoy ranked battles through the Battle Stadium. Please check the in-game notice for more details about Ranked Battle Season 1. Obviously, something that I don't even know what that means exactly. I don't know what is it. I know it has nothing to do with anything what we are talking about today. But what does it mean, Tyson? I don't even know. What is that?
So if I can get into a little bit to help the audience understand. So number one, ranked battles it's just like any other competitive game or a game with a competitive aspect. That's where they have their different seasons, their different series, and their different rule sets for each season and series and all that stuff. So we're currently obviously in the first season of this ranked series because it's a brand new game. So if I can jump into it, at least on this topic, that's how seasoned Pokemon fans, and really I knew, and I'm not saying I'm special, like most of us knew or were very, very certain that we were getting an update at December 1st because they had already announced that's when the new competitive season was going to start. And so were we 100% sure? No, but we were pretty certain. And the other reason for that is because there was actually another glitch that was found in the battle stadium specifically. And that's where these ranked battles take place, is in the battle stadium. And that's just the online competitive outlet.
Okay.
And so anyway, there was a glitch. And so in order for the game to work the way that it was supposed to, before the season kicked off, they had to patch it. Otherwise, it would have, and we can talk a little bit more about it if you want, Geeb. I don't know if you heard anything about that, but it left the game completely broken to where RNG was not working properly. Every battle stadium game, every online competitive game was basically stuck in the same RNG seed. So you could go into a battle and basically predict which moves were going to hit and which ones we're going to miss.
Yes, that sounds like something. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, and it was just broken. It was the same seed for every battle. And so there are one-hit KO moves in Pokemon. And I don't know the deep details. I remember doing a little bit of research in them, but basically, to put it very simply, you could predict when your move was going to hit based on what turn in the game it was. And so if you wanted to use a one-hit KO move, generally in Pokemon, those are very inaccurate moves. There may be like a 30% accuracy or something like that, 25%, very, very inaccurate. But if you used it on this specific turn based on this RNG glitch that was taking place because of this RNG seed being identical across these battles, you could get a one-hit KO and turn the tide of the match in your favor and basically cheat. And so we knew as Pokemon fans that they had to patch this. And so I expected a patch, and I was very glad to see that Nintendo addressed it.
The patch came incredibly fast. I mean, again, I think we're a little bit less than 2 weeks after the release of the game. So, I mean, this is a very quick patch. They announced it. They said it's coming today, essentially. They announced it late at night, and for most, we were already into the next day. So it did come later on. But yeah, I was surprised to see the patch not being into that world like you are. I didn't know that was such a huge deal, but obviously listening to you describe that, clearly that had to be done because that part of the game was zapped of fun for most people.
Busted.
I imagine.
Yeah, it was just broken completely.
Yeah, so that obviously that's necessary. That's the biggest. That's probably why it's number one on the list, because those who know, which I was not, those who know, like you, Tyson, like that. That's number one. Priority number one was to get that fixed, because that just means that part of the game was unplayable. So
yeah, because you can't play competitive online with that with that glitch in effect, right? It doesn't. If the game's broken that way, then it really defeats the purpose of any post-game play, right? Of any post-story play.
Yeah.
So they had to patch it. And for the most part, Pokemon fans knew that they were going to.
Yeah. So let's get to the next patch. This is kind of aimed toward us more normies, I represent the normal Pokemon fans. An issue has been fixed that causes the music not to play correctly during the battles with the Elite Four and the top champion in the Victory Road path. So I think that's when the end game, essentially. The music is messed up.
Well, it's funny because that happens. It's like one of those other performance glitches or issues or whatever. That didn't happen for me. The Elite Four, it played perfectly. It didn't happen. So the Elite Four match for me was very iconic. I did not have that experience, but many people are. So I'm one of the fortunate few. It's good that they patched that, because that's a very as far as the story goes, that's a very like high point in the game, like that you want to get the full experience out of. So that's actually a good. It's a good thing to patch that one for sure.
For sure. The immersion's so important, and the music is so good. And why would you not want that to be?
Yeah, dude, the music slaps for the Elite Four too.
Oh, you're not there yet. I can't wait. Is it anything like the so like when you're in the trainer battles and you get to the final stage with the terrestrializing stuff? You go whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah, I mean, it's bro. Like
I love that shit. That shit gives me goosebumps, man.
Doesn't it get you fired?
Yes, it does. I mean, most of the gyms I crushed because I was higher level than I should have been, but it still got me pumped, dude. Though.
So I will say I'll drop you a little hint.
Okay.
As to what you can expect when you hit the Elite Four, because it's better, but for different reasons. And there's a little bit of retro spice thrown on.
I like retro.
Music. Oh, bro, you're gonna love this. It's fantastic. They did a really good job with the Elite Four music. So it's good that they patched this so you can get that full experience of the game and the story.
Yeah. And then the last thing here on the patch notes is other select bugs have been fixed. Sorry, that's not what it says. Other select bug fixes have been made. And that's where the patch notes end. And that last patch is very vague. And that is what I swear to God, they do this shit on purpose, dude. They do this on purpose. Like they just want the internet to go and just burn some more, because it's going to give them so much more publicity. This whole thing's giving Pokemon Nintendo publicity out of the wazoo. Not that it needed it. As we discovered in our last podcast, Drip and I were on, we talked about how the Nintendo company is the Pokemon company is the top media company in the world.
Yep.
Over Marvel, over Star Wars, Disney. Those are three same things essentially.
You want to know fun fact for anyone that doesn't know this? Do you want to know do you know what the second one is?
What?
It's a Pokemon. It's Hello Kitty, dude.
Oh yeah, and then Winnie the Pooh is on there too.
Yeah, but Hello Kitty is literally directly under Pokemon. So that's even wild. Hello Kitty, isn't that wild? It beats out Marvel, Disney, all that stuff. But
that's wild.
I mean, it's not relevant to the conversation we're having, but that's just to give you some perspective. It's insane.
Yeah, we're going beyond gaming. We're going beyond anything like that. We're talking about like if you go in a store, like I was in Hallmark the other day and I saw 15 Winnie the Pooh things when I walked in the first day. Like that, you don't think about that in life. But then when you hear it said like that, it's like, yeah, I see Winnie the Pooh everywhere. I see Hello Kitty everywhere, especially when you get over to Japan. I see Star Wars, Disney everywhere. There's movies and TV shows at the wazoo. And when you hear that the Pokemon Company is above all of it, that should really tell you.
It's not even close. It's not even close.
It's not.
Like we're talking astronomically above. Pokemon as a whole, as a media and entertainment franchise, it's astronomically above any of your favorites, which is also why it makes it the best.
Yeah.
Fight me.
Tyson, I'm not trying to offend you here, but you're like a Pokemon homer. Like, that's fine. Like, I'm a Philadelphia homer. Like, it's fine. We all could be homers of what we want to be homers for. But I want to just say real fast, for anybody out there who's thinking that this whole podcast is going to be loving on Pokemon because we're just talking we're telling you all the good things, right? No. We're going to get to it probably right about now, because in that patch note, Tyson, I don't know. I got a little foggy glasses right now, but did you see anything about performance patch?
So no, unfortunately I didn't. The one thing that really gives me some hope about performance, and the thing is my hope for performance improvements are really for other players, because I don't care about the performance, to be honest. Pokemon just gives me what I want. I'm a homer. Exactly. I'm a homer, like you said. I like it regardless. I see what they were trying to do, but the thing that gives me hope is the last statement that they make in that last paragraph is, and if I can just read it if you like.
Go for it. Take my thunder.
So it says we are aware that players may encounter issues that affect the game's performance. So that is good, because their bullet points didn't address the performance, but they did say it. Our goal is always to give players a positive experience with our games, and we apologize for the inconvenience. We take the feedback from players seriously and are working on improvements to the games. So, something interesting that I want to point out after that statement's made, and I shared this in my personal Discord for my content with my community, is months ago, before the game's ever launched, I think the Pokemon Company and Nintendo knew as a whole these games weren't ready. And we can talk about the deadlines and all that stuff. I think at this point, pretty much everybody's aware of these deadlines because of the Pokemon machine, right? That has to roll along. So before the game's ever launched, if you go to the official Pokemon Scarlet and Violet website, they actually did make a statement that there will be, and it was before launch, guys. I want to emphasize that. Yes, they did make a statement that there will be continuous updates to these games. So that tells me, if you couple the statement that they made on the official Pokemon Scarlet and Violet website before launch, I cannot emphasize that enough. Before launch, they were aware of these issues. So if you couple that with this statement directly from Nintendo of America, I have full confidence that they're going to do everything they can. Now, like I said, everything they can. I think, there's certain limitations when it comes to Pokemon and the way that RNG is done with a game like this, where every Pokemon's different and how things are generated in the world. But I have full confidence that they're going to do everything they can to make these games perform as good as they possibly can within reason for what Pokemon is. But I don't know that gives us a Breath of the Wild experience. I don't know that gives us a Xenoblade 3 experience where, because there's random numbers in the back that are just constantly rolling all the time. And I think that's another thing that people don't take into account. Like, every single Pokemon you see on the field of play is different. They're all different and they're all randomly generated. And so I have full confidence they're going to patch this. My only question would be is are they going to patch it to the internet's satisfaction? And I don't really know.
I have an answer for you. I have an answer for you. Absolutely not, man. Absolutely not. There is no way. There's not. The only thing that they can do to make the internet shut up, and it's literally impossible, because the internet will complain no matter what. That is literally possible. But the only thing that they could do is give it 4K 60, not 1080 60.
It's true.
And they would, because they would still, the internet would still it's not possible. They wouldn't do either one.
No.
But like, that's the only thing that shut the internet up. Maybe 1080. I think 1080 60 would shut them up. But like, no. It would. I think it would. But like, I'm joking here, guys. But what I'm really saying is, like, the internet is going to complain no matter what. They could fix every little glitch, every little bug, which, by the way, most Pokemon players are not seeing these things. You are on Twitter, but the people playing the games, for the most part, are not. And if they do see them, they're the little ones that aren't that funny. It's just like are minor inconveniences. There's nothing really. This game, as much with all the glitches, all the bugs, there is nothing game breaking. I've had one at 45 hours. I had one single crash.
Yep.
And it didn't. And because I have autosave on, which is against Pokemon, I sort of that hurts your heart to hear that, Tyson. But because I have autosave on, nothing happened. I just popped right back in. And actually, it was with you when I played multiplayer with you. My game crashed. That was the one time.
Had one. Yeah, and I've got over 100 hours in the game, and I've had one crash. And it was weird because it was actually an unexpected crash where there weren't even any like slowdowns or frame drops or anything happening. It just crashed in the middle of nothing.
Yeah.
So the truth of that is for me is I've had more crashes in Sword and Shield. Like, and now granted, I've got 700 hours in my Shield copy.
Seven times more.
But the truth is though, what's crazy is I did at the launch of Sword and Shield. I played that game a lot, if probably more than Scarlet Violet, if you can believe it, at launch. I remember 3 significant crashes at launch of that game that I had. That game, it wasn't a glitchy mess. I mean, there were some glitches though, but it wasn't as bad as Scarlet and Violet, but it crashed on me way more. Like it completely crashed and shut down. So the thing is it's a new game, deadlines, all that stuff. One crash at 100 hours, it's fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
It's fine. It's totally fine. It's not going to break the game. It's not going to break your experience. The game. I want to, before I start talking about what I'm about to, I want to stress here as well that, because I said in my video, if you guys didn't check it out, you should do that. Link will be down below. But the game itself, with the bugs and the glitches, with the performance issues, it's all. It does not affect the gameplay. Now that is the biggest misconception I think is going out there from. I keep mentioning very cryptically. There's one person in particular I'm talking about, but in general, the negative press on the internet, social media, YouTube, the biggest misconception of all this is that it's affecting the gameplay. Like, it's not. The performance is lagging, but like, this is not a game where you need good performance. You don't need it to run. It could run 10 frames per second. It would look like shit. And actually, at some points, this game does run about 12 frames per second. But honestly, it doesn't affect the gameplay. The core gameplay is still intact because there's no precision necessary. There's no strategy as far as moving your character with analog sticks
any
necessary.
Strategy is turn-based, right? Like
it's all turn-based.
And that's the thing. It's all turn-based. So
no timing whatsoever. There's nothing you need to time whatsoever. Button presses, sticks, nothing. Nothing's timed. Yep. So it doesn't affect the core gameplay. And the core gameplay is the best core gameplay of a Pokemon game so far. That's my words. I've said it on the video. I mean it. It's the best Pokemon game they've ever released. It is.
Praise Arceus.
Praise Arceus. It is so fun, guys. I can't stress enough how fun this game has been. I don't play games for 45 hours in 2 weeks often. Never, no. In fact. I think
let alone a Pokemon game.
Let alone a Pokemon game, but here's why. Because it hits me in my nostalgia bones. Yes. I've talked about this at length multiple times. I wasn't a fan of the games as a kid, but I was the TV show and the card games, and that was that and the movies. I saw the movies. It's just it meant so much. Pokemon means so much to me, and besides the games, hence why they're such a big media company. Mm-hmm. And this game, and I'm a lover of open world games. Breath of the Wild is my favorite game of all time, and it changed Zelda in a great way. This does not have the Breath of the Wild effect on Pokemon because it's still very much the same core Pokemon, just with a few extra elements that have been changed for the positive and the negative in some aspects. But ultimately, this is the best Pokemon game they put out, hands down. I think if you're someone who is similar age to me and has a similar experience of Pokemon in their life, you're going to love this game. If you're on the fence,
yes, you're
going to love this game because it doesn't unless you're a snob for performance, which I used to be when I was a younger lad. I really was. I mean, I can admit that now, especially because I'm not anymore. I was a snob. I loved better graphics. I thought games that had lesser graphics were subpar, and that was just inexperienced lad talking.
Good though, right? We like games to look good.
Of course
right?
we do.
Like, I mean, like it's fun when you play something that's at least 1080p and you're playing 60 frames per second and everything's just gliding along.
Yeah,
and, I mean, I like it just as much as the next guy, man.
I still make decisions on games based off of those criteria because like it's they're games that matter, especially Go anyway. Go ahead.
The thing about performance in a Pokemon game for me is, and I'm the Pokemon stan here, guys. Like, I'll be the first guy to admit,
Tyson's
like,
the biggest homer I've met with Pokemon.
I'm pretty biased.
They could do anything they wanted to him, and he'd be like, "I love it."
I will say. Now we can talk about some of the stuff that we don't like about these games, because I do, believe it or not, I do have plenty of things that I don't like about the games.
Yeah.
But it is. And I do have some negative things to say, despite what the internet might think, because
yeah.
I've had some comments. But there are negative things about this game. It's not my favorite Pokemon game. I believe that Pokemon peaked at Gen 5 with Black and White, Black 2 and White 2. I really do. I still believe that, way back on the DS, guys. Like, but does that mean that it affects my enjoyment of this game? No. Like, this game, despite all of its problems, performance, bad design of some of the Pokemon, it just doesn't. It's yes, those things exist, but the gameplay is so good. And one of the points that I tried to make online recently on Twitter, if you guys go to my Twitter, follow me at, the Tyson W tweets. Yeah. One of the points that I recently tried to make was that I understand, and this isn't verbatim, but basically what I said, or at least what I was trying to communicate, was I don't understand how anybody could get to the end credits in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and complain about performance. Now, that's not me saying that performance issues don't exist. What that is me saying is this game is incredible, and if you get to the credits, like, it's easy to overlook all of that stuff. The guys, like, now, speaking to Gels and some of our other friends, she completed the game, and I asked her, hey, how is it good? Like, what did you think? And it made me cry, and so it really did. It was emotional for me, and there's other reasons. Like, it really struck a nerve with me, and we can talk about that, at a later time. But it really, when you get to those end credits, man, like, the story, I will say the end game story takes a turn away from the childish, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but it takes away from, it takes a hard 180-degree turn away from the childish stuff that you see throughout the playthrough with, like, Team Star and stuff. And not to spoil too much, but the game's been out for 2 weeks now, so I'll talk a little bit about it. Not the end game. I don't want to spoil the end game for anybody, but the Team Star storyline with the school bullying and all that stuff. Like, I'm an adult, so that doesn't really resonate with me.
It's funny you say that, because I agree completely. I think that storyline is the least compelling.
But the good news is there is an end game story that is for you. And it's incredible. It's just as good as any heart-wrenching Disney movie. It legit when credits, because it kind of ends and it cuts hard, and then it goes directly to the credits, and then can we just talk about too that freaking Ed Sheeran song real quick? The song slaps.
Wait, which one?
And I'm not. So it was on the pre-launch trailer. It's called Celestials.
I don't think I've heard it.
I am not an Ed Sheeran fan.
Oh, I am.
But hot dang, that song slaps, guys.
I love me some Eddie. Give me some Eddie.
Man, well, then you would love this song, Geeb, if you're already an Ed Sheeran fan.
Yeah.
Bro, so,
talented motherfucker.
Agreed. It's just not his music's just not my stuff. But,
totally fine.
The Ed Sheeran song slaps, man. It's so good. But so point being, though, guys, like, when you get to those end credits, and if you're an adult like me, I'm 35 years old, and I've played every Pokemon game. This is the first one at the end credits that has ever made me cry. And it didn't just make me cry like in an internet, like, oh my gosh, like, it tugged legitimately at my emotions. I had to get up. I was playing with my girls upstairs. I have 2 daughters, and I was playing with them upstairs. I had to get up and leave the room because I was so embarrassed that this game had made me cry. I didn't want my 2 girls to see me sobbing over a Pokemon game. It is so good. And if it doesn't make you cry the way that it did me, I have deeper reasons for why it did, but they did a fantastic job. So anyway, after my diatribe, Geeb, that's how I feel about the game, despite all the issues, and we can get into the issues or whatever.
I don't defend as much as I talk positively about the game. I think Tyson kind of agrees, even though he doesn't care as much as I do. I don't defend the performance. It is unacceptable. It's, quite frankly, we talked about a second ago how we, I crashed for me once in 40 hours, and it's crashed for you once in 100. You know how many times Breath of the Wild's crashed on me?
Oh man,
0. Mario Odyssey,
0.
What's another popular game? Arceus.
Arceus has crashed on me.
0 for me, but that's a bad example. I ran out of things to popular Nintendo games. But you get the point, guys. A Nintendo game comes with a certain seal of quality, and I know we had a big argument in my Twitch the other night because people kind of misunderstood me, and I'm pretty easy to misunderstand sometimes because I'm an idiot. What my point from all that from Twitch the other night was, this is a game that Nintendo puts the seal of Nintendo on. Like it's if I grab my Nintendo Pokemon, or if I grab my Pokemon game off the shelf, it'll say Nintendo on it. Not just because it's on Nintendo's platform, but because Nintendo is on it. They're the publisher. I know it's Game Freak, but let's be honest, guys. If Nintendo wanted to buy Game Freak, they could buy Game Freak. They couldn't buy Pokemon, but they could buy Game Freak. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a Nintendo game. That's been very. People hate me for saying that. I'm not saying they are Nintendo. I'm saying if they wanted to be, this could be a Nintendo game if they wanted it to be.
Mm-hmm.
But
and it is.
But so I kind of lost my point of even saying that. But basically what I'm saying is, comparing it to games like Breath of the Wild and stuff, it should be a valid comparison. The game like that, where Nintendo puts their seal on it like that, it should not release with one glitch. It should release with 0 glitches and well, I shouldn't say 0 glitches. Every game has glitches.
0 because Breath of the Wild
crashes in particular. I mean, that's unacceptable. A game that crashes is unacceptable unless it's like a free to play or very cheap.
I don't know.
Indie.
Like I don't know about unacceptable because even games like Skyrim and stuff that are blockbuster hits, they were glitchy. I mean, it's an open world.
Well, I don't
game
play
with
those
a lot
games.
Of, I know. I'm just
games for me. Games that I play, if it crashes, if I paid a premium for it, it's unacceptable.
Yeah. I just think, I don't know, especially in modern day, like I hear what you're saying and I understand the sentiment. I don't agree. And it's not just because it's Pokemon. I'm talking, we could be talking about like GTA 6, or whatever. Okay. Like I don't care about Grand Theft Auto. Right. But like me personally, and this is just my opinion, I do feel like it's a little bit unrealistic to expect like a game, even with Nintendo seal of approval on it, to release with 0 glitches, because of how complex and graphically intensive and all that stuff. But I hear what you're saying and I understand what I hear the sentiment. I just don't agree wholly with it. But it's not just because it's Pokemon. And even for me and somebody more educated on a game like Breath of the Wild, I don't know what they are, but I know for a fact Breath of the Wild released with glitches. And and I'm fairly certain that, and I don't know for a fact, I do own Breath of the Wild and I put several hundred hours into it. I'm fairly certain that game crashed on me once or twice. You know what I mean? So like to kind of put things a little bit in perspective, at least, like I think every modern game has the potential to do those kinds of things just because of the nature of how complex they are. But that's sorry.
You're good. Interrupt. You're good. So, and you kind of talk, you were going to talk, you said what I was going to say is right now is Breath of the Wild, as example, because I did misspeak a little bit. Excuse me. I did misspeak a little bit. Breath of the Wild has glitches. Like, don't get me wrong, I misspoke there. Breath of the Wild has glitches, and they've been exploited. If you watch Twitch streamers who exploit those glitches, it's hilarious. You can glitch right into shrines. You can
speedrunners
shrines, and stuff. Speedrunners, speedrunning Breath of the Wild. That's all it is glitches. They only do glitches. The only way to speedrun Breath of the Wild is glitches, because you can beat the game in like 25 minutes, and not 25 hours if you exploit the glitches. That's fine. You can have glitches. The point is, only an experienced speedrunner can really exploit them. Any child with thumbs can move a joystick and clip into a mountain in Scarlet. Any person who can enter a building and has eyeballs can see a glitch happen, because it's happened plenty of times. The point is that like the glitches should be extremely far in between each other and very hard to get.
If I could maybe
it's super easy in Scarlet to make any of those big, relatively minor glitches happen. The bigger ones takes more effort, but the minor ones, it's super easy to make them happen, and that is the unacceptable part.
So here's what I think I hear you saying, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. But what I hear you saying is if you're playing the game as intended, right? Like as it was meant to be played, you should experience little to no glitching, right? Like, so like so what I hear you saying is in a game like Breath of the Wild, where, you can use the axe and twirling and all that kind of stuff in order to shift through walls or whatever the term is. I'm not a speedrunner. I play Pokemon. But you have to do things that kind of we're playing the game out of its normal scope of what you would normally do in order to advance through that game. And so you are correct in saying that, yes, there are a heavy amount of glitches, glitches even through normal gameplay and performance issues. And so those are the kinds of things that I would tend to agree with you that, yeah, like those need to be ironed out, obviously, right?
It shouldn't be released. It should not be released like that. That it's not just they should be ironed out. It should not be released like that. They should have delayed this game until every clip in and it was not available. The bigger stuff where you see on Twitter, I would be fine if those happen, because I haven't seen any in 45 hours. That tells me it's almost impossible to get that to happen regardless.
You have to make it those things where it's like a Slenderman on the ride Pokemon,
Sneaky
right?
Snake, big guy, water.
You have to make that happen. You have to make that happen. But I think that's respectable. And I think honestly, as a Pokemon fan, I enjoy getting Pokemon games every 3 years, like mainline Pokemon games every 3 years. It's something I look forward to. But it used to be that like back in the DS days, like Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Black and White, those games had more time in the oven. Yeah. And I think there was a point, and I couldn't identify when this was, because I'm not a big numbers marketing kind of guy or whatever, but like there was a point after Black and White or something that rebooted this franchise to the point to where it really started to snowball. And that's when you started seeing the really, really fast, and someone out there is going to tell me I'm wrong and show me the release, times of all of these Pokemon games or whatever. But that's when you started seeing these games have less time in the oven. Black and White 2 were really complete games. Black and White were complete games. They weren't without glitches. Like they've had some glitches in many of the Pokemon games or whatever, but a lot of those glitches, you had to do things intentionally to make them happen. And I would tend to agree with you as a Pokemon fan. I would love it if instead of giving us a Pokemon game on a timeline, it must be released this day, 3 years from now, right? I would love it. Look, I would wait 6 years, just like we wait for Zelda. Breath of the Wild, right? I would wait 6 years for a solid Pokemon game, because in 6 years, so someone like me, I'm a pretty traditional kind of guy, especially when it comes to my Pokemon. Like I want all of my Pokemon in that game. I want that national dex. Give me all 1,000 of those Pokemon. Stick them in that game. Well, if they weren't, even though you don't really use them all in competitive, which I'm really big on is competitive play, but you got more time in the oven, you can stick them all in there for people that are nostalgic and traditional like me that really value that. Yeah. You can also iron out these glitches before release. You can really dial in the battle system, which is something that we saw had issues, the online competitive system.
Yeah, it's broken.
To kind of, so as an aside to that point, just so the fans of Pokemon know out there, the good news is that that RNG glitch didn't actually affect Wi-Fi battles. So like Geeb, if I was to ask you, hey Geeb, do you want to battle? And we connected directly over the internet, that wouldn't affect, that RNG issue would not have affected our battle. This is specifically on their ranked system. But that issue, as far as we understand, I haven't been able to play the game since the new patch, but as far as we understand, it's been patched and handled. But that's kind of to get back to the point that I was trying to make though. Yes, I totally agree. I wish that these games were given more time in the oven. Give me 5-6 years between releases and really just polish these games, because I think that's wholly what many of these bigger content creators and these bigger communities and the internet as a whole is saying is, we just polish it, man. Like it's a good game. I really haven't heard too many complaints about the game. Really, a lot of what I'm hearing on the internet, it's fun. If you can get past these performance issues and glitches, I'm having a good time, is what I'm hearing so many people say. And so as a Pokemon fan, it really would mean a lot to me too. Like I said, I love getting a Pokemon game every 3 years. I'm a crack addict for Pokemon, guys, but man, yeah, I would also take 5-6 years between releases, man. Just give it some more polish,
I was having a conversation with my sister last night, who had some really good input and perspective for me to think about. She was, her and I were actually on a call together while the tweet happened, and then we started talking about the tweet, the Pokemon tweet, because she didn't care, but I care, so we talked about it. But essentially, what her point was, which is it's obvious, but you don't think of it like that. But she said, back in the day, we had internet back in the day. We didn't. It's not the way we have it now. And let's say in the 90s when they put out a game on a cartridge, that game was literally downloaded onto a cartridge and never touched again. It was put in a box, sealed up with some plastic tape, and sent away to be sold.
Yep.
That's what they and it never again was that game touched by developers. Yep. And if that kind of practice, this practice, the way the game was put out today, this year, would not have flown back in the day, because if people were to get that cartridge the way it is now, it would have been just like it would have been laughed at. It would have. Social media puts it into a whole different perspective, honestly. But I'm not talking about that. But people, if were to see those glitches back in the day in the 90s, they put their cartridge in their system, turn it on, and they're flying around like a gelatin man. I think Pokemon would have been laughed out the box, out the store.
So the only, not really though. So I will, like, not really. So Pokemon became a phenomenon on the back of Red and Blue, the very first Game Boy games to ever exist. And Geeb, I don't know if you played those games or if you're familiar with them, but I'm sure that you've probably heard of the missing no glitch in those games. Are you aware of the missing no glitch?
I'm not.
You should Google it, and I would also encourage the chat and anyone listening, in the audio format of this after it goes up, to if you're not familiar with the Pokemon franchise, Red and Blue were actually incredibly glitched, and they still, so on the back of Red and Blue that were broken games. Red and Blue were actually broken. Go back and play, if you've got the Virtual Console Red and Blue games on your 3DS, go play them. They are broken, and all of the glitches in those Virtual Console games still exist. You can get Mew through glitching. You can get you can duplicate any item in your 6th slot of your bag by using Missing No, this Pokemon that doesn't really exist, that's just a glitch in the game, but it's called Missing No. It's actually insane. But that's the history. But
those are exploitations. That's not, that's a glitch, but it's an exploitation, right?
I mean, the Mew one, yes. You have to do specific things in order to get Mew to appear. But there are other glitches that exist that happen through normal gameplay. Missing No is actually a really easy one to do by accident.
Like, what if you're playing, picture this, Tyson, what if you're playing on your Game Boy, and just like, let's just say every 10 seconds, your screen cuts out for 1.5 seconds and cuts back in. But every 10 seconds, your screen just goes away for 1.5 seconds and comes back every 10 seconds.
Yeah. So like, you're talking more about like performance. So
like performance and glitches, yes, but because sure. The games were so basic back then. It's hard. Right. You can't. But accumulate the equivalent glitch in today's game onto a Game Boy cartridge. That's kind of the equivalent, I think. And like that is not talking about exploits or even like minor glitches that do happen in the game. Because I'd never heard of it, and I'm sure it's not that. I don't think it's that known besides the Pokemon community. I wouldn't imagine.
It's very known.
Well, I never heard of it, but no, it doesn't exist. That's how the world works today, right?
Okay.
But no, I'm just joking. But like I think that the glitches today. Let's just pretend like the Switch was around back then, but you couldn't have the internet to update your game later. There was no internet to patch your game later. I just think it would have been even more acceptable back then. Because, or it's not even about. Let's just forget about the unacceptable part. Let's go back retro time here. The games were, again, you kind of proved me wrong a little bit there, but the games were polished. The Pokemon games were not this buggy back then.
I could prove you wrong again.
I'm sure you could
with another Pokemon game.
I'm sure you could.
So that anyway,
I don't know.
I won't get into it.
Whether I'm right or wrong about it. That's how I feel.
There was another.
Because how I feel is not the truth.
without getting into the weeds of it, there was and I forget which one it was, but I think it was Fire Red, Leaf Green. They did release with a game-breaking glitch, and I don't remember exactly what it was. So somebody in the comments or whatever can correct me on which game it was. It might have been Ruby and Sapphire. I do know that it was or at least I'm fairly certain it was a Game Boy Advance title.
Yeah.
It actually did release with a game-breaking glitch that they patched through they did patch it through events. And I think it was Fire Red, Leaf Green, now that I'm thinking of it, because they did have wireless capabilities with this attachment that went into the top of the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
So they actually did patch it. But you had to go, since there was no internet, like you said, you had to go to a live Pokemon event, and then that patch basically spread like a virus after that. So like if you didn't go to the event but you knew somebody that did, they could patch your game wirelessly through that little So that, I mean, that's a little bit of history for you. And I can't remember exactly what the glitch was, but it did exist. But I understand what you're saying. On the whole, you wouldn't release a game in this state. You would release it and devs wouldn't touch it.
They would have waited back in the day. They would have just waited.
Yes.
They would have just waited to put a game out that were such obvious glitches and performance issues. They would have just waited to iron them out. And they don't do that these days because they can get away with it. Number one, because of the patches. But number two, they're making so much. But this is where the money thing does come into play. They are making so much money. Don't pretend like that's not a factor in this. Like they're making so much money off this game. And that's the main reason for the deadline. Yes, it's for hitting other deadlines to make sure that they're meeting other, Pokemon merchandise stuff. But it's also because they want to make the deadline for the moolah, for the dough.
Why? What season is it? Holiday season. Right. I've just communicated to, early on in this podcast that, it's big for me. Like this season, I have disappeared, right? Like I said in the intro.
I've seen you more than ever recently, so I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, it's because we play Pokemon together, though. Like, I mean, I've literally, but that's the thing is like, this season is big for me as a Pokemon fan, and I think as a lot of Pokemon fans, but you're exactly right when it comes to that, because this is the season to release a Pokemon game. As a Pokemon fan, you almost intuitively know that every 3 years, you just feel it in your jellies and, all that, whatever. But like you feel it, and it's important to you. It's important to me. I have disappeared into Paldea and become this Pokemon trainer the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And but that's what they're playing off of. And you are exactly correct. That is why they do it. It is about money, because they play on old 35-year-old boomers' emotions and want to make them feel like a kid again. But yeah, so you're absolutely right. You're not wrong there.
Or 28-year-old Zoomers. So
yeah.
They play with my emotions, but that's the only reason I bought this game. I'm so glad I did. But that's the only reason I bought this game is for emotions. Because while I don't care about Pokemon games that much, like don't get me wrong here, guys. Like I go into the mall and pass by Build-A-Bear. What do you think I'm looking for? What kind of cute little Pikachus they got? Little Eevees,
yep.
What are they?
They got all kinds of stuff in there now.
Like you're passing by in Hot Topic and you see like, oh, that's a cool shirt, Pokemon and boots.
They got some good Pokemon shirts too.
I don't play the game. My mom asked me, she was getting into crocheting a while back, and she asked me like, what do you want me to make you crocheting? I want to practice. And I was like, you may have seen it this whole time, everybody. It's bad about dropping anything. My mom made me, and I was specific. This is how you guys know. I'm a real Pokemon fan. Like Pokemon, not the games. I was like, can you make me the Squirtle, but not just Squirtle? Can you make me the Squirtle from the episode with Squirtle Squad?
Yeah,
and they're wearing they're wearing the sunglasses. She did a This has actually gotten pretty old at this point. This is like 6 years old. I kept it in nice condition, but like. Damn, this thing looks so. She did a great job. But that's not. Dude. And she's like, I don't know how to do the sunglasses. I'm like, I don't know. Just put a pin.
They look.
I was like, just put a pin on it and just stick it on there. So that's exactly what she did.
Oh, dude.
Here, all that to say is that I'm a real Pokemon fan, just not the kind that plays the games. But that's all changed now. I don't think for a second that every Pokemon game that comes out from now on, I'm going to be on high alert for, just as if it was a Breath or a Zelda game. Please don't get me wrong. That is who I am now, because this game did that to me. Because unless they put out something that's vastly different in the wrong direction, I open world, running around a world with my little shoesies, going anywhere I want, climbing anything, swimming anywhere, catching whatever I want. Whenever I want.
That's what we've all wanted.
This is what we've all wanted. I watched the Squirtle Squad. I was like, I want to run around with the Squirtle Squad. I'm pretty sad. I'm sad there's not more Gen 1s in this game, quite frankly.
They're coming. They're coming. There's a Charizard event. We can talk about that.
Powerman in our community is already got a Charizard. That was posted in my Discord earlier.
There's more coming though.
Yeah, I know. I was like, what? You got a Charizard?
There's more Gen 1s coming.
It was sick. I'm super.
There are
excited.
more Gen 1s coming, because with Pokemon, they've already announced Pokemon Home compatibility in 2023, and hopefully it's sooner rather than later. I hope it's not as delayed as it was for Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, because that was quite delayed. But with that Pokemon Home compatibility, since Charizard is in the game, we can expect that Blastoise will be in the game. The whole Squirtle line, Venusaur will likely be in the game. All of those classics that we love. But yeah, so we will see those. And by the way, your mom, you need to give me her digits, because I need one of them Squirtles.
She doesn't have Etsy or anything. She just likes to make stuff. She get this, dude. She made a whole Gyarados. Like,
that's dope.
This big for my nephew.
Oh man, that's sick.
Yeah, she so and cool. It looks awesome. It looks awesome. It looks like Gyarados. It's so cool. This was her practice for Gyarados.
It looks great, dude. It looks like Squirtle. So, you know this, I think, but Blastoise is my all-time favorite Pokemon. So that was sick. Pulling that one out, dude, with a Squirtle, because that's my favorite line right there, dude. I love that.
I love Squirtle Squad Squirtles. Well, regular Squirtle's all right, but Squirtle Squad Squirtle with the sunglasses, Squirtle. Like
100%.
Damn, dude. Man, we could talk for hours. We really could. I promised your wife that I wouldn't steal you all night. So I think this is where we wrap it up for now on the audio side of things. Those of you in the stream will hang out for just a few more minutes, depending on how long Tyson has and how long I feel like going. But thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. This was a fun time. Drip should be back next week. If not, we'll keep you updated on the Discords and the Twitters. If you're not following us over there, do that. By the way, speaking of following, follow this beautiful man right there, the Tyson W, over on youtube.com/the Tyson W, and also twitter.com/Tyson tweets. He's one of my the only,
W
I don't interact with too many Twitter people because I'm not on Twitter for social media. I'm on there for business. But I do
argue.
I do enjoy looking at your arguments over there on Twitter. So it's always a blast so go follow him over there too. But anyway, guys, Tyson, thank you so much for going on. Any last words?
Dude, thanks for having me, man.
Oh, no problem. No problem. And we'll see you guys next week.
Peace. Later, guys.